All right, what's going on, y'all? So yesterday I did an Instagram story letting y'all ask me questions, and those could be questions about anything having to do with working out or diet and nutrition, prep life, and I got tons of questions from y'all, a ton of really good questions. So today we're gonna go through and I'm gonna kind of answer these in Q&A format and just go through as many of these as we can as possible. So let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, so the first question is, what are my favorite chest and shoulder exercises? So coming up soon, I'm gonna be taking y'all through actual workout videos, showing y'all kind of from point A to Z of the individual workouts themselves. But to answer this question, my favorite chest exercise is definitely dumbbell incline bench press. I use this in literally every single one of my chest or push days. The beautiful thing about it, especially setting it up in the beginning of the workout, is if you go ahead and you follow high intensity bodybuilding where you warm up to your first top set, that first top set, when you're able to really push a lot of weight, like right now I'm still doing 140s on incline press. The beautiful thing about that is this is really developing your chest as a whole. So it's not only just focusing on the top of your chest, even though that is kind of the focus point of it. What happens is then you're creating that kind of like tabletop shelf look to your chest muscles. And that's how I've kind of really been able to build a lot more roundness to my chest is dumbbell incline bench press. So that's by far my favorite one for chest. For shoulders is laterals. Pretty much anything laterals goes. That could be machine laterals, that could be dumbbell laterals. Same thing here goes is you want to control the weight as much as possible, but you want to be lifting as heavy weight as possible. I see all the time people go in there and they just pick up 15-20s, and that's great. If that's where you're at, definitely rock with that. But the people are doing 15-20s and they're just repping it out. They're not actually, taking it to failure, even close to failure. Still, the same principles apply. If you follow that, you're gonna really create really good width and roundness to your delts. I see too many people focusing a lot on actual like shoulder press movements, all that. You're getting a lot of that when you're actually hitting chest. You're hitting your front delts a lot when you do like an incline dumbbell bench press, anything like that. So for shoulders, by far my favorite is anything laterals. All right, the next question is, what are my thoughts on diet soda? So first off, I've never, even as a kid, was never a big soda fan. So, me personally, I don't really drink diet soda. With that being said, even, when dieting or anything like that, it's fine in moderation. You can go into the studies of aspartame and all of this, the effects of that on your system. And I would caution you on, drinking too much of it. But I personally believe, in moderation, diet soda is completely fine. And for many people that, might have more of a sweet tooth or love soda, it can be a great tool when dieting. It can kind of break up the monotony and all of that. So as long as you're not way overdoing it, diet soda should be fine. All right, the third question is, what was my body type when I started bodybuilding? So I technically started, lifting weights when I was like 13, 14 years old. I remember calling my uncle up, asking for advice on, how to get abs and all that. And I started, casually lifting weights, kind of what a 13 or 14-year-old would, but I never really got serious into it until I was about 16 or 17 years old. And all throughout my childhood, I had done martial arts, played sports. I had done a lot of cross country and track. So I had been fairly active. But with that being said, I wasn't, extremely active. I definitely wasn't, a star athlete, none of that. But I'll throw a picture up on the screen of where I was. I think this is when I was 16, maybe 17 years old, when I had first just started actually kind of taking bodybuilding seriously. The point here is I was not, some prodigy or anything like that. I did not look like Chris Bumstead, that famous picture when he was 16 or 17 years old. But I've been able to kind of use what I've got, and I've got, I would say, decent genetics, but nothing crazy. But that's where I was. All right, so the next question is, what's my best tip to recover from a hard training session? So first off, this is going to be kind of a two-part. First off is you need to make sure you eat after you work out. So this is where you hear, a lot about that, post-workout anabolic window. That's where everybody tries to get their protein shakes in, all of that. I actually personally rely more on carbs post-workout, even though I do drink a protein shake after and all of that. Carbs is where, that's what's really helped my recovery. I've noticed a huge difference when I have immediate post-workout carbs compared to when I don't. And that can be in the form of, carb drink. Right now after my workouts, I do 2 rice cakes. But the point is, right after my workout, I try to get some fast-acting carbs into my system, and I have noticed a big difference in recovery from, the days that I don't have that versus the days that I do. If you don't want to, essentially get done working out and have, some carb source, which I recommend, try to get home and have an actual meal as soon as you can. A lot of people go from working out and then they'll meet their friends or whatever, and they don't eat. That's a terrible way to recover. You're not going to put on gains near as fast. All of that. The second big point, and this is one that is so underplayed, especially in today's hustle and grind culture, and this is one that I made a mistake on in the past, is sleep. Right now, me being in prep, I'm trying to sleep at least 9 hours a night, which for me, that's kind of a lot. Point being is you need to let your body recover, and it's recovering the most when you sleep. I think too many people, they'll get the diet down, they'll get their workouts down, and their first thing that they let sacrifice is sleep, when I actually think that's one of the most important factors by far. I've noticed when I'm not sleeping as well, or I'm not sleeping long enough, or whatever, the schedule's tight to where I'm not getting enough sleep, recovery goes down the drain, gains go down the drain. It's harder for me to either lose body fat or I put on more body fat. So this is one thing that I've noticed very personally is, sleep is absolutely paramount. And not just with bodybuilding. I mean, this is even when I was doing ultra running, when I was, training for 50 miler and all of that, if I was not sleeping, it wasn't good, because I was, going on long runs, and I'm doing multiple, long runs a week, and my body just wasn't recovering. And that's when I started getting little injuries, on my hips and all of that. And as soon as I, devoted more time to sleep, I've essentially been completely injury free. All right, so the next question I got is, how many grams of protein do I consume per day? So if you guys have seen my full days of eating, you kind of know where I'm sitting right now. But whether it's the off season, whether it's right now with prep, even back when I was doing hybrid athlete, where I was training for ultra marathons while still lifting, all of that, it's all kind of remained the same. I generally like to be more in the 1.25 to 1.5 grams per pound of body weight. I know you hear all the time the studies that say you don't need more than 1 gram per pound of body weight. The thing is, if you have healthy kidneys, you're drinking plenty of water, the beautiful thing about protein is it's very, very hard for protein to convert to fat. So if you have excess protein, it takes a lot to really, really convert that excess to body fat. Whereas if you had excess carbs, you have excess fat, that can convert to body fat very, very, very easily. It gets stored, as an energy source. So the thing is, I really like being in that 1.25 to 1.5 range. I've noticed I grow faster. I'm able to retain more muscle when I am dieting, but that's where I generally like to be. So right now I'm eating roughly about 300 grams of protein per day. Like I said, if you've seen my full days of eating, you know what that is, but it's a lot of, chicken, now a lot of fish, whitefish, salmon, and then a little bit of beef with some protein shakes mixed in there. But that's what I suggest, 1.25 to 1.5 grams per pound of body weight. All right, so the next question is, how do I efficiently gain muscle while in a calorie deficit, losing the final 20 pounds or so? So I'm assuming this person has been dieting. They might be trying to get rid of, a lot of excess body fat, all of that. A lot of people want to put on a lot of muscle while dieting at the same time. If you're detrained, meaning you used to train in the past, you stopped, and now you're getting back into it, or you're a complete newbie in the gym, you can do essentially a recomp. It's a beautiful time in every lifter's life where they can lose fat and gain muscle at the same time. But there's a limit to it. And I've seen it, for some people, it's only about 6 weeks to where they're able to efficiently recomp. Some people, depending on where their body fat was when they started, if it's a lot higher, it can be a lot longer that they're able to actually do that. The thing is, though, if you're in a calorie deficit, especially, a heavier calorie deficit, trying to lose a lot of body fat, it's going to be very, very, very hard to put on actual muscle. Now, your body can utilize some of that body fat as energy to help you do that, and that's where the recomp comes in the beginning. But this is where generally, typically, you either want to be in a calorie deficit to lose overall body fat, and you're going to lose some weight in the process with maybe some muscle tissue, or you want to be in a calorie surplus. You're going to put on a little bit of body fat and hopefully put on quite a bit of muscle. But that's where, you hear a lot of people do, bulks and cuts. bulking has got a really, really bad reputation over the years. I used to do dirty bulks, and that's why it's got a bad reputation. Nobody wants to go ahead and just get really, really fat in the off season and have to cut it all off to get shredded again. But you can do these kind of mini bulks and mini cuts to where you're only slightly in a calorie surplus, to where you're not putting on just heavy, heavy amounts of body fat. And then when you see yourself, start to get a little soft, then you can do a mini cut. And then you can either do a strict cut to where you're putting yourself in 500 calories deficit or more per day, or you can even make it small to where you're only about 200 calories in a deficit per day, and kind of lose it slowly over time. But either way works. But the whole point is, if you've already gone through a period of time where you've recomped, you're not really a newbie in the gym anymore. You kind of need to be in the mindset of, hey, I'm going to cut. If I get a little bit smaller, that's okay. Because one, you've got more muscle than before you started. And two, when you do a diet and when you cut down, then you're able to be very, very sensitive to everything that goes into your system, to where that's then when you're able to put on the most gains as possible. The best time to put on muscle is right after you've done a really, really heavy diet. When you're really, really, really lean, your body just eats it all up. So the point is, be in the mindset of, hey, I'm gonna cut. If I get a little bit smaller, that's fine. Like right now, I'm very flat. But I know it's part of the process, and I know when I get down to my goal and get on stage, then I'm gonna be able to have a rebound effect and put on a lot of muscle, and I'll be in a calorie surplus during that time. But it's the whole thing of kind of being the mindset of, hey, I'm gonna be in a calorie surplus, I'm gonna put on some muscle, with that comes a little bit of fat, or I'm gonna be in a calorie deficit. I'm wanting to lose all my body fat, but with that I know I might get a little bit smaller. But you're gonna be set up mentally a lot better if you go with it with that approach, rather than the people that kind of try to do both at the same time. Like I said, there are instances in lifters' lives when they can do that, but it's pretty rare. And I see a lot of people trying to do it that shouldn't be, and then they're kind of just stuck in the same place. And that's what you don't want to do. You want to always be, continually improving. All right, the next question is, what are the best and worst types of cardio? So first I'm going to answer this from a bodybuilding perspective. So from a bodybuilding perspective, best types are low intensity, steady state cardio, in my opinion. I prefer that over high intensity cardio, so that could be, going up for just like a 20-minute all out HIIT session. I prefer lists. So I prefer getting on, incline treadmill, walking outside with your heart rate elevated, or Stairmaster. That's what I've been doing lately. Second to that would be doing HIIT. So I know some people prefer doing, the 20 minutes all out. I think that's just slightly more catabolic, and it is more, it does expend a little bit more energy in the form of glycogen than lists. That's why I do prefer lists if you're trying to retain as much muscle as possible and give all your energy into your lifting sessions as possible. For bodybuilding, the worst types is, and this is going to be shocking coming from me, who, I come from being a hybrid athlete and ultra runner and all that, but endurance training. So especially endurance running. Endurance cycling is not near as bad as endurance running, but endurance running is extremely catabolic. And I know this from personal experience. I've tried to put on muscle. I've tried to maintain as much muscle while running many, many, many miles. And it's not an impossible task. I've set up programs to where people can do that with the total and ultra hybrid athlete programs. But the point is, it is a hard task to do. You need to have things set up properly. You need to have a proper balance between volume and intensity. The point here is, for bodybuilding purposes, endurance running is kind of a no-go. You don't want to do that. It is very catabolic, and it will burn up a lot of muscle tissue. Now, for overall health purposes, endurance cardio can be some of the best. So endurance running, endurance cycling, especially, mixture between the two, swimming, all of those. But a combination between aerobic and anaerobic cardio is going to be the best for overall health, overall cardiovascular health, all of that. So that's where having a good balance between, HIIT style cardio and kind of more endurance style cardio for just overall health. But for bodybuilding, stick to lists or HIIT. All right, the next question is, what are the best leg exercises? So, I could go down a list. I am going to be filming a leg day for y'all coming up here pretty soon, but if I had to choose just one exercise for legs, it's probably not gonna be a shock, but it would be back squat, barbell back squat. I personally do mine elevated, so I'll put 10-pound bumper plates underneath my heels, or if at the gym that I'm at has one of the elevation ramps, I'll use that. But the point is, in my opinion, you can't get any better than squat itself. Besides that, I also do really like hack squat. As far as deadlifts go, I don't really like deadlifts for bodybuilding purposes. I do stiff leg deadlifts. With that being said, I think it's great for the posterior chain, but I think for actual hamstring growth, all of that, it's not my favorite. I know some bodybuilders that they swear by it and it works great for them. I've seen much more growth in my hamstrings from isolation type movements, and then overall leg growth from stuff like squats and hack squat. But yeah, if I had to choose one, it would absolutely be squats. All right, so the last question we've got today are, what are my thoughts on high volume training? So if you guys have been following me, you know that I do high intensity bodybuilding rather than high volume bodybuilding. Just a quick recap of what that is. High volume bodybuilding is the typical type you see. Most people in the gym are doing high volume bodybuilding, where they'll go in and their first set might be 12 reps with 180, then the next set will be 10 reps with 200, and then the third set, their top set, would be 8 reps with, say, 220. But they're building in weight, and with that, they're coming down in reps each time. High intensity bodybuilding is kind of the opposite of that, where your first set's actually your heaviest load. It's your top set. So your first working set, you're giving, you're under the most amount of weight rather than having it for your last set. And the way you do that is you warm up with several sets beforehand, but they're not working sets. So you might do, 6 reps with a weight that's not working at all. It's just pushing blood into the muscle, getting you used to the form, all of that. And then you'll do 4 reps, 2 reps, and then you'll be at your top set. And then from your top set, then you do a back off set. But it's to failure and past failure versus volume that you might hit failure on 1 or 2 of the sets. Here's the thing. I did, most of my lifting career has been high volume training. I started in college doing high volume bodybuilding, and then did that for many years, did that through the time I was, a firefighter, all that. And it wasn't until probably about a little over a year now that I really started diving into high intensity bodybuilding. And now I love that. There's pros and cons to both. I prefer high intensity bodybuilding. I think it creates a different look to the muscle. It creates more muscle maturity and density faster. I even think it can give you better gains in a shorter period of time, but you've got to be able to hit that 6th gear. If you can't hit that 6th gear and you're not truly taking it to failure, high volume bodybuilding is the way to go. And even right now in prep, I'm still doing high intensity bodybuilding, but I'm throwing a little bit more volume in there because my intensity's come down just a bit because my 6th gear is not as I would say it's not quite there as it was about a month ago. So I am throwing a little bit more volume there. So the point here is both work. It's really kind of which one do you like. I have more fun doing high intensity bodybuilding. I get I've gotten way stronger doing high intensity bodybuilding than with high volume bodybuilding. So to me it's just a little bit more fun. And I do think it comes with a little bit better gains. But with that being said, if you really connect with high volume bodybuilding, and I've talked to some men's open pros. I talked to one recently, Luke Carroll, and he was telling me that he started out doing high intensity bodybuilding, did that through most of his career, but now to save his joints and all of that, he does high volume bodybuilding, and he's not seeing that big of a difference. The key that he said, which is what I agree with, is what matters is that you are taking it to failure. So if you're doing high volume bodybuilding, try to be taking your sets to failure, at least that top set, that last set. Same thing with high intensity bodybuilding, try to take it to absolute failure. You want that intensity in the gym, and taking it to failure, logging your lifts so that you know how to progress from there, progressive overload. That's where you're going to grow. But my point is, I prefer high intensity bodybuilding, at least right now. I've seen insane results from it. But with that being said, I've seen great results too from high volume bodybuilding. It's kind of whichever one you want to go with, what style bodybuilding, all of that. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely go ahead and smash that like button down below. Let me know if you guys want me to keep doing some more of these Q&As. They're kind of easy for me to whip out and just answer y'all's questions pretty quickly. So if you guys want this, definitely drop a comment down below letting me know you like these, and I'll keep I'm doing these maybe once a week or bi-weekly, all of that. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. Definitely go ahead and smash that like button down below. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Be happy, be positive, be powerful. I'll see you guys next time.